Hello, and a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive here on Westferry Times. I'm Emily, your host, and today we're really getting into a fascinating, evolving story. The relationship between the UK and India. It's a partnership with, well, such a rich history, but it's very much looking forward now towards mutual growth, shared goals on the world stage.
Absolutely. It's a relationship that's definitely navigated that complex past,
Yeah.
but forging something really dynamic now. Significant potential there.
And to help us unpack all of this, we're really delighted to have Dr. Raj Patel with us. Dr. Patel is a renowned expert in international relations, particularly South Asian affairs. So really the perfect guide for this. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's maybe kick things off with that history. I mean, the ties go back centuries, obviously marked quite heavily by the colonial era. How does that history, that backdrop, still sort of play into the dynamics we see today in the 21st century?
Well, you really have to understand that historical context, it's fundamental.
Mm.
It's a shared past. And both countries acknowledge that.
Mm.
But what's really striking, I think, is the conscious effort now from both sides to move beyond those complexities, to build a genuinely modern partnership. And that's based on mutual respect, but also, crucially, on shared strategic and economic interests that are emerging now.
Right.
And the Commonwealth, well, its role is seen differently by different people, of course, but it has provided a kind of continuous platform for talking for practical cooperation over many decades.
So building on that idea of moving forward, what sort of concrete diplomatic steps have we actually seen recently? Steps that really show this commitment to a, well, stronger relationship. It's more than just talk, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. More than just acknowledging the past, we've seen a real stepping up of diplomatic activity. High-level visits, leaders meeting more often, and the meetings seem more substantive. And the setting up of these formal strategic dialogues, that's really key. Because these aren't just photo opportunities. They allow for detailed, ongoing talks on really critical stuff. And if you look at the joint statements coming out afterwards, you consistently see this focus on shared priorities.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like deepening defense collaboration, tackling the urgent issue of climate change together, and strengthening cooperation on counterterrorism. So all this sustained activity, it clearly signals, a mutual commitment to getting closer. It's very forward-looking.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets particularly interesting. The free trade agreement, the FTA, it's been talked about so much. Beyond the headlines, what's really at the core of this agreement? What are the potential game changers here?
The FTA is definitely a major milestone. It aims to reshape the economic relationship, fundamentally. The main goal, to knock down trade barriers, reducing or getting rid of tariffs on a whole load of goods traded between the UK and India. And that could unlock some serious economic opportunities for both countries.
Right. Can you give us some specifics, like tangible examples of these tariff cuts so we can really see the potential impact for, say, businesses or even consumers?
Sure. A really big one is India agreeing to slash import duties on premium British cars.
Ah, yes. Heard about that.
Yeah. Previously, they faced tariffs, well, often over 100%,
Yeah.
really high. The FTA brings that down to 10%.
Wow.
Now, it is important to mention there's a quota system involved. It's not unlimited at 10%,
Yeah.
but still a massive change.
Definitely.
Another key example is spirits. Think Scotch whiskey, gin, iconic UK exports. They faced Indian tariffs up to 150%. Under the FTA, that drops to 75% initially, and then it's phased down further to 40% over the next 10 years.
Okay, so a slower reduction there, but still significant.
Exactly. It's considerable opening of a huge market. And look, it's not just about selling more whiskey or cars. It signals a real willingness on both sides to lower those barriers, to integrate their economies more closely.
That's a huge drop in some areas. Now, what about services? That's such a vital part of both economies. How does the FTA affect the services sector and the movement of professionals?
Yeah, that's a really important point. The services sector is absolutely crucial for both the UK and India. And the FTA does have provisions to make it easier for professionals to move between the two countries.
So easier for skilled workers.
Yes, exactly. We're talking about skilled Indian professionals, particularly in fields like IT, healthcare, engineering. They'll get better access to work opportunities here in the UK. And there's also a specific clause, quite interesting, that exempts Indian workers from paying into the UK's social security system, national insurance, for the first 3 years they're employed here.
Oh, really? That could make quite a difference.
It could, yes. It reduces costs for employers, potentially making the UK more appealing for Indian talent.
Fascinating how these economic deals filter down. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. It always strikes me that the cultural connection, that sort of soft power element between the UK and India, is incredibly strong, even if it's less formally discussed sometimes.
You're absolutely spot on. Cultural exchange is vital. Sometimes underestimated, I think. It helps build understanding, trust, those crucial people-to-people links that really underpin everything else. And there is formal recognition, too, the Cultural Cooperation Agreement signed by both governments. That shows a commitment to actively boost collaboration in arts, tourism, sports.
Are there any sort of standout examples that really bring that cultural exchange to life for people?
Oh, definitely. A wonderful example is the Darbar Festival. It happens every year in London. It's just this vibrant celebration of Indian classical music, dance,
Hmm.
attracts a really diverse crowd. And it does so much to deepen appreciation here in the UK for India's incredible artistic heritage. Things like that are bridges, really.
And I suppose there are institutions dedicated to this too, building that cultural bridge.
Yes, absolutely. The Nehru Center in London is probably the prime example. It functions as the main hub for Indian cultural diplomacy in the UK. They host all sorts of events, art exhibitions, lectures on Indian history or philosophy, music performances, dance.
Right.
The whole aim is to showcase the richness, the diversity of Indian culture to a UK audience. And that strengthens the soft power, influence through attraction for both countries, really. It fosters that deeper understanding at a very human level.
So if we try and pull all these different threads together, the history, the diplomacy, the trade deal, the cultural links, what's the bigger picture? What are the main strategic, the long-term economic implications of this deepening relationship?
Well, connecting those dots, the economic forecasts around the FTA alone are pretty significant.
Huh.
Some estimates suggest it could boost bilateral trade by around 25.5 billion.
Wow.
And for the UK economy, maybe a long-term annual boost of something like 4.8 billion. Those are the projections.
Significant figures.
They are. And strategically, this partnership just becomes more and more important. You've got two major global players here. They have real potential to work together on tackling big global challenges, things like climate change, through joint research, maybe sustainable development projects, or enhancing cybersecurity cooperation, which is critical in today's world.
It does sound like a generally positive picture, a strong upward curve, but are there potential bumps in the road? Any areas where there might still be friction?
Yes, well, like any complex international relationship, it's not going to be completely smooth sailing. There will be challenges.
Mm.
One area that often comes up and needs careful handling is intellectual property rights, especially concerning the pharmaceutical sector.
Ah, yes, always a sensitive topic.
It is. The UK life sciences industry, for example, has voiced concerns. They worry that the provisions in the FTA might not give strong enough protection for their IP in the Indian market.
I see.
So it's a delicate balancing act. India has its own priorities, particularly around access to affordable medicines. It's an issue that will likely need, ongoing talks, negotiation, to find solutions that work for both sides.
Dr. Patel, this has been incredibly illuminating. Thank you so much for walking us through all that, for giving us such a comprehensive and really insightful overview of this evolving UK-India relationship. Your expertise has been fantastic.
My pleasure entirely. It's been a really interesting discussion.
So just to quickly recap for everyone listening, in this deep dive, we've sort of journeyed through the historical context, haven't we? We've looked closely at that landmark free trade agreement, its potential impacts, explored the really vital role of cultural links in building bridges, and considered the bigger strategic picture of this strengthening partnership.
Indeed. A truly multifaceted relationship. Lots of promise, but yes, some complexities still to navigate, as we discussed.
Exactly. And on that note, perhaps here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to mull over. Given all the shifts happening right now in the global geopolitical landscape, new alliances forming, power dynamics changing, how might those external pressures, those global currents, further shape the priorities and the actual direction of this really significant UK-India partnership in the coming years? It's certainly going to be a dynamic space to watch. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive here on Westferry Time. Until our next exploration together, goodbye.